Men are slowly giving up and nobody cares. This is kind of on point for me. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram or on actually Elrod over on Twitter, I've been posting a lot of my fitness stuff, be squatting and working out. Now, I'm just talking about like mental health, and especially mental health for dudes, because as dudes, we're not allowed to really show emotion. We're expected to know everything. We're expected to be 6 foot. We're expected to be the best Call of Duty player that ever touched grass, and as well as be able to throw a 70-yard touchdown and run under a 440 and have over a 9-foot vertical, have a massive fucking Johnson that can not only get my girlfriend pregnant, but can get your girlfriend pregnant at the same time.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
It's impossible to be a dude in 2024.
Recently, more and more men are giving up on relationships, careers, and society as a whole. Resentment is growing, unemployment is becoming rampant, and keeping your head above water seems almost impossible for many men today. This is leading to more men than ever dropping out of society entirely. And it's not just that, men are becoming infantilized. With terms like adulting now becoming normal, it's clear that something ugly is happening that needs to be addressed. We live in such a strained, unnatural environment that is bound to start to wear on society, but men in particular are battling to keep up and are slowly giving up. Giving up on dreams, giving up on trying, and giving up on doing anything constructive. And for a lot,
they say the saddest place on earth is a graveyard, because that's where dreams, inspiration, and innovation goes to die. Dreams that were never chased, innovations that were never made, all there. Never chase your dream, guys. Never too late to start now.
large part, it's really not their fault, as this trend isn't just a personal struggle, but a societal issue that we must urgently address. So
I don't know how the Joker 2 fucking is getting a fucking jab at this, but the original Joker, Joker 1, kind of hinted at some of the underlying malice in society that a lot of dudes have to deal with. And yeah.
So why is this happening? And why has it gotten so bad in 2024? On the surface, it's a long and complicated story. Life has never been simple for any human, and objectively speaking, for men in the West today, it's never been better. We have all the technology we need, food delivered to your door with the tap of a finger, dating readily available to anyone with a simple swipe. Any products, items, or experiences that you want can be had with the tap of your phone. But over time, all of these comforts of life destroys the importance and necessity of struggle. Without any value placed on higher goals, where there just is no reason to care, means there's no reason for people to properly live or have the will to achieve greatness. Which is probably why 40% of young men aged 18 to 45 meet the criteria for depression, and 49% of 18 to 23-year-olds have had a thought of passing themselves in the past 2 weeks alone. And we're seeing the symptoms of this problem everywhere. The sapping away of our vision and ambition permeates in all aspects of modern society today. Our culture, architecture, relationships, bodies and minds. Past civilizations before us have always placed their emphasis on beauty, wisdom and logic for all the population to see, with great town squares, bustling with art, life and community. These things were placed above all else as the bedrock of their societies, laying out a code of honor and struggle in its people to achieve greatness. Comforts were shown in art and culture, but as an aspiration for achieving something great.
So if we're going to look at the Roman culture, I've recently kind of picked up some book, reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, listening to some podcasts about Roman. So how often do you think about, the Roman Empire? I've been thinking about it a lot recently. They were uber competitive. When they would go over, for example, when the Roman Empire actually went out and conquered Greece, and Romans and Greece started intertwining, Romans became so competitive that they started learning about the Greek culture and being able to speak Greek fluently. We're not seeing that now, I think, in society. And I don't know if society is not doing sports. It doesn't have to be physical sports. Esports do this too, but sports are just a little microcosm of life. And I think it breeds competition, and I think competition is a very good thing. Healthy competition is good. And I think getting to the point of being unhealthily competitive, you have to go way across the pond to get there, and not enough people are even dipping their toes in the water.
For following your mastery, but today our cities are mostly devoid of all of this character. and instead they're marked out by the most cost-efficient, bland and sterile designs to facilitate a simpler self-motivated purpose. It's why people flock all over the world to a handful of remaining cities that retain their centuries-old charm to feel and experience the character of bygone societies that were motivated by higher ideals. Ideals greater than our modern two-dimensional ways of thinking. With a prioritization of comfort, lasting opulence and flashy materialism over individual excellence and greater community, we're now reeling in the aftermath, becoming instead a generation of mandated mediocrity. And does this explain why men today seem to struggle more than ever while seemingly having more than ever? America in particular is not actually in a recession. In fact, on paper, the economy looks like the best it's been in a while. Unemployment has dropped, GDP is up, but what the people are actually experiencing is a completely different story. We can see this in a study by the University of Michigan on consumer sentiments, which gathers data based on how consumers feel about the current state of finances. In 2022, it dropped to an all-time low. Prices of our average daily needs like gas and food have increased in unbearable percentages. In contrast, salary increases do not.
No one cares about the God of Tower. Okay, season 1 was cool. Season 2 severely dropped off.
Match, putting a high strain on budgets.
Inflation is showing no signs of slowing down as Americans pay over $1,000 a month more on the same essentials we were buying 3 years ago. Nothing's changed but price. The latest consumer price index for March showing basic necessities like our food, housing, and gas are all continuing to cripple Americans' wallets with higher prices.
Make America great again, baby!
Our wages are actually down against inflation since Biden took office. So not only are prices soaring, but our wages, at least if you measure hourly wages, are not keeping up at all.
I want you to imagine this is the Biden and Harris administration, as well as like the Tim Harris administration, and we smoking that pack real quick.
Your head above water has become the new normal instead of owning a home with a white picket fence. The rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer, with the middle class disintegrating completely. All the knowledge of the past of just going to college, getting a job, and buying a home immediately is just completely irrelevant for anyone working and living in 2024. The universities have skyrocketed in prices to absurd levels. The housing market is in a complete giant bubble. Everyone's sending out job applications more and more, all while using these automated testing systems, applying up to 100 jobs a day and still not getting anywhere. All the while major companies repeatedly tell us that they can't find any workers for their companies. And the results of this are clear. People are drifting towards more unfulfilling jobs, or just not even having a job at all, while the rich buy up resources, real estate, and everything that used to be the cornerstones of the middle class, that is now just an investment hidden through an offshore bank account for some giant investment fund.
Basically what they want to do is create a nation of renters. BlackRock coming in and giving them more money than the house is worth.
How much more do they give them?
I love Tim Dillon. This may be my favorite gay man on the planet, next to my uncles, but outside of family, Tim Dillon is legit.
You can give them, 30% above.
Really?
Which is money.
And then they just lease those homes out.
And they lease them out. It's part of this idea that home ownership and automobile ownership and all of these things, these legacy systems that people want to get rid of. And they go, rent a house, use Uber, Lyft, whatever. You don't need to own. What does owning do for you? That's that famous article, you'll own nothing and be happy.
Right.
You will own nothing and you will be happy. Yeah, if this is a YouTube video, hopefully I remember to put that in here somehow, but
And because of this, all saving plans for regular people are halted because living paycheck to paycheck means there just isn't enough for a savings plan. And whilst there is still some hope to dig your way out, for most this does begin a damaged path. People end up working in a job that's not in their field, something that they hate to do every day, and eliminates the experience they need for the job in their field. And so even the experience they are getting is just completely useless for getting back on track. In effect, their now entry-level position is further deviating them from becoming lawyers, psychologists, or whichever career path they studied for. And if the middle class is experiencing this, then the lower earners are feeling this even more. The jobs they once had a chance of landing now go to the middle class, while they get hit a bump lower, which is putting millions of people in dire straits. They face working twice as hard for minimum wage, juggling between jobs, partaking in the gig economy with absolutely no security, all with an extreme pressure to keep up with daily expenses in a completely overpriced megacity. And the truth is, both middle and lower earners are now taking a huge hit to their egos. They feel disrespected through no fault of their own, as no man wants to feel like a failure. They don't want to feel like they're not providing or on their destiny. Imagine putting in the hours and effort to get a degree and then having to take a job that's not even within the field you studied for. Well, this is just regular life for most people nowadays. It's making men feel incredibly depressed and isolated. They watch all this stuff on social media, they see people flexing the Rolexes on their Instagram stories. Meanwhile, they're struggling to survive, living a life they absolutely hate. And when friends and family ask about it, they suffer the humiliation of explaining why they had to take what was available. Even though it isn't humiliating at all, and they're doing what they can to survive, it definitely takes a huge effect on their mental health. Especially as it wasn't that long ago, where it was actually normal to end.
The iPhone 16 is here, and this is a mouse case.
Into the workforce with a mentor who would show you the ropes and encourage you and push you to learn more. Starting at the bottom didn't seem so bad because there was an opportunity to grow and reap more rewards, but this imperative step is slowly slipping away. Companies of prestige have forgotten the generation with no experience, and for many companies this is what they want. This is actually the ideal scenario, where they have people so desperate, so in need of experience, that they can treat their workers like absolute trash. Since the 1980s, testosterone levels have dropped more than 50%, and yet
Yeah, this could be from our food and lack of exercise.
we're told to ignore it. Why? Because there's a coordinated effort to suppress masculinity and turn men into something they were never meant to be. This decline is no accident. We're constantly exposed to harmful chemicals in our food and everyday products, bombarded with estrogenic chemicals from plastics, junk food, and sedentary lifestyles, which is why testosterone levels have been declining for decades, with a
I'm just gonna go ahead and say this now. This video is hitting so on the nose on so many different things, and if you're a dude, I know you're relating to this. I feel lucky. I'm very privileged. I dropped out of college. I had parents that supported me in this stupid endeavor of trying to become the world's best paintball player. And here, let me show you something real quick, guys. If you don't know, most of you probably know what I'm about to show, but there's not too many people, I think, right, who get to look at, have a true childhood dream of wanting to go out and try to be the absolute best in something, and then going out and actually achieving it. Going out and making your rivals become your idols. So my early 20s, very privileged. I dropped out of college, and I got to, quote-unquote, live life like a professional athlete, playing professional paintball via the ICPL with the Sabre Wolves. Beautiful opportunity and something that I'm so grateful for, because it showed me a little microcosm of life. I had to get to know people like Frank Connell, who's such a loud, interesting personality that once you understand who Frank Connell is and what that comes with, when all of these extra things start flaring up and his voice starts getting high pitched, you know it's just who it is, right? And you're not attacking that soul, right? What am I trying to get at with this? That's just one aspect of life. Just again, like, sports are just a little microcosm. I lost my point. I'm not gonna lie on this. I'm sorry. What was I trying to get at? Yes. We're back. Okay. And now I'm 30. So I didn't get to go to college, right? I played professional paintball, so that's not going to really translate to a good job. And I was kind of going from job to job. I was a personal trainer. I was lost a little over 100 pounds. And while I was playing paintball, I was privileged to help people lose hundreds of pounds. Hundreds of people lose hundreds of pounds as well. But being a personal trainer is not going to be, especially in this day and age, you're not going to make enough money to make generational wealth unless you're kind of some celebrity trainer. And a lot of that is just kind of the most amount of luck. But where I'm at now, I'm not going to tell you guys exactly what I do because I don't want you guys to know, but excuse me, I will say I'm a merchant of death. I'm in medical sales, and I feel very lucky. Like, I'm in medical sales and I dropped out of college. How the fuck did I do that? By volunteering, by getting out in my community, doing volunteer work, and just when I was desperate, truthfully, because I was working at Telemundo, hated that. just getting fat in a cubicle, reaching out to different volunteer work that I did, and I found something I didn't even know was an opportunity. So if you're somebody who is stuck, you're somebody who feels they can't go anywhere in life, I promise you, whether it's staying up at night, getting up a little earlier, finding time in the middle of the day, get some fitness in. Start reading some good books. Good books in my eyes being like Lessons from Don Carlos, The Journey to Ixtan, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, The Art of War, The Art of the Deal, The Book of Five Rings by Musashi Miyamoto. That was the first book to kind of get me back on this journey. But it all starts with one decision. And then when those little thoughts, those little demons kind of creep up on your shoulder left and right that want to tell you to go back to those habits that made you a loser, remind yourself and tell that little demon that you're not going to be a loser again. You're not going to go back to those habits that got you in a place where you felt like you were weighted down in chains, and you're going to continue to do the thing that's hard at the moment is you're fighting the grain, but eventually the grain gets worn down, and then that becomes the new groove, and that becomes the new way of things. Sorry, that was a really long tangent. I kind of lost the plot a little bit along the way, but I appreciate you. Bristol, I appreciate you hanging out. Bobby, I appreciate you. Michael got juice. I appreciate the follow.
17% drop among 60-year-olds in 2004 compared to 1987. Sperm count and strength in men are also decreasing exponentially, with a 32.5% decrease in mean sperm concentration in the last 50 years. But here's the good news, there are ways to fight back, and one of the most effective solutions that I found is our sponsor Black Forest's Testosterone with Tongkat.
I don't care what the ad is. Go out and exercise. No supplement, no pill is going to help you. This is a goddamn Ozempic.
This supplement is packed with two of the most powerful natural testosterone boosters available. Testosterone is a natural anabolic compound that helps increase muscle growth, boost recovery, and support higher testosterone levels. Tongkat Ali, used for centuries, helps raise testosterone, reduce stress, and improve overall vitality. I've been using Black Forest's Testosterone and Tongkat Ali, and I've noticed a huge improvement in my energy, strength, and focus. It's like getting back the edge that modern life was just draining away. Right now, Black Forest is offering a buy two, get one free deal on this limited edition product, and once it's gone for good. I can personally vouch for its effectiveness. It's had a huge difference in my energy levels, strength, sleep, and overall well-being. And by supporting our sponsors, you also support us directly. So hurry and take advantage of this amazing 48-hour promo and support me alongside this amazing brand using the link in the description below. The cost of having a job also plays a part in stripping them of their dignity. Transport costs to their job, depending on the amount, could take a huge chunk of their salary, so that at the end of the day, they can only pay for rent or food and not both. A government grant could replace their salaries, and they earn more or less the same amount.
What's also helping to pay the bills is, as I said, the U.S. government, in particular, our disability programs for people who are unable to work. Those programs seem to have morphed away from their original humane intention and now seem to provide an alternative income source to regular employment for several millions, for millions and millions of these guys.
If a job doesn't support your basic needs of a home, food, and transport, it wears thin in justifying the effort for this job, especially if you're not getting any experience. And in most cases, if you go into the gig economy, absolutely no security either. All for minimum wage. There's even a new term called quietly quitting, where you do the bare minimum of your job to the point that you're almost rendered useless and you get fired or simply quit. The fact that this term even exists shows that attention is desperately needed to solve this problem. And while this is happening, it's becoming more and more common for both partners in a household to be living the same life, or even with most males' partners actually being the breadwinner. And whilst this isn't necessarily a problem at all, it is leading to some weird modern problems in the household. Men with families are actually switching their roles with their wives, except they're not actually doing what their wives would do if they were to stay at home.
When you look at what I guess in Britain is called NEET, N-E-E-T, do you say that also in Australia, neither employed nor in education or training? When you look at that huge group of over 6 million prime age men, the story they're telling about their lives is really pretty devastating. It's pretty distressing. They basically don't do civil society. There's almost no worship. almost no volunteering, almost no charitable work. They've got a lot of time on their hands, but they report doing strangely little help around the home or help with other people at home.
Because of the situation, some men may feel a sense of worthlessness and resentment. Some men might take an hour to clean up the house and fetch the kids, but the rest of the day they sleep or play games. In some cases, the wives work and then come home to finish the chores their husbands were meant to do but didn't. And whilst this might cause huge marriage problems, it still feels better off to the husbands. If asked what they do for a living, saying they're on a break or working on a project beats the humiliation of saying they work at McDonald's with a useless degree on their back. Men without families have nothing to lose, so they stop working because no woman would even want them anyway. They can't afford to date, they can't afford a family, and since their own families are supportive, it somehow justifies them giving up and staying at home. Rather than
Yeah, if he's not 6 foot and making 400K, they don't want you.
facing these societal problems head on, with prices rising, getting hired becoming harder and harder by the day, and inequality becoming rampant within society, most men are just deciding to give up. Because instead of facing the hardships of having a job, it just seems so much easier to escape, whether it be terminally being online, playing video games all day, or hiding behind doing chores at home to show they still have a purpose and are doing their best. The point being that for many men in 2024, if they're gonna be disrespected and feel worthless, they may as well choose the easy way out than a battle. If respect had a currency on how it would affect your life directly, you would see a different picture. A man with a job with high pressure, long hours, and doing something that makes him feel degraded would be worth say $100, but staying at home playing games and escaping, all while being with the people he loves, is probably worth $200 because of how it affects him. This explains why more and more men are deciding to drop out of society rather than face it head on, as it just seems to be the easier path. If it's a choice between two paths, one that offers little satisfaction while the other provides comfort, it's easy to see why men are going this route. But the thing is, this is a terrible mistake. And this is creating problems that we've never seen before. If there is no emphasis or any facilitation of the need to aspire to something greater and the game seems rigged to most who are playing it, it's hardly a surprise record numbers of men are dropping out and giving up on the game entirely. The problem is that there's a huge group of men, roughly about 7 million in America between the ages of 25 and 55, who are not working and are actively not looking for work. Now, COVID certainly had a hand in accelerating these figures. One question posed to these dropouts was how many of these men were on pain medication, and almost half of these men admitted to taking pain medication daily. And aside from those who desperately need it, these figures could indicate that men are aimlessly numbing themselves to their new reality. And this is great for society, as people don't have to deal with this huge problem. And what's even more shocking is that 40% of these men do have some kind of degree.
What sort of men are in this group?
Chris Williams, great. I wonder who is interviewing here.
Demographically, education, family structure, ethnicity, who makes up this group?
Surprisingly,
no clue.
A large representation of guys with college or even college degrees. 40% of this group has at least some college, and as I recall, about a fifth or a sixth are college grads.
The decision to be in this state is closely related to changing times. We've already discussed the effects of brain rot in another upload, which disabled problem solving in Generation Z and has already presented problems in finding jobs.
Okay, so before I'll link the video. You guys want to watch the rest of this video, go right ahead. I'll watch it on my own time. What I have to say about this is most of these guys who do go to college and are on probably a pain medication, right, and are depressed and out of the workforce, I know people have such a hard time, but let's stack up all the things. If most people go to college and don't get a job at the degree, or don't get a job that's lined up with the degree that they got, they're probably not the most fulfilled out of that job, right? Because as a kid, they wanted to be marine biologists. Now they're working in some factory, managing a group of people. It's not a bad paying job, but it's not what they want. They'd rather be out fishing and doing tour guides. And even though that might not be the most lucrative thing, they find passion and joy in it. But it's not enough to pay the bills because they got to get their daughter to college. Like, do you see what I'm getting at? Like, most men live quiet lives of desperation. It's a powerful statement. It's a sad statement. It's a true statement. And it's one, to me, it's like, man, ultimately, it is better to go through this life understanding that it starts and ends with you. Not saying the world revolves around you, but your actions, how you deal with things, how you deal with people, all predicated around you, your thoughts, and how you can hold yourself and your emotions. And if you can always imagine, it's so easy said than done, but the person you 5 years from now, me looking at it, the Elrod 5 years from now, I'm 30, the 35-year-old Elrod, would he be happy about the decisions that the 30-year-old Elrod is making now? I hope so. I'm investing. I'm working out. I'm working. Granted, once more, going through this video, I'm very blessed. I came from being able to play professional paintball in my 20s to being able to transition that paired with working as a personal trainer to get in the corporate world with working at Telemundo. Now I'm in medical sales. I feel very privileged, very lucky, but the victim mentality is not one that I can even entertain, right? I have a very hard time relating to the victim mentality, just because this is where I think a lot of people, and this is going to be my nerd showing out, but why a lot of people like anime. You don't like anime, you may like comics. Whether you're a shonen, you're the MC, or whether you're a hero, most oftentimes you were dealt a shitty situation. And even though you were given a shitty situation, you were given an obstacle that seemed unsurmountable, you still surmount it. You still break through. You find a way. You go plus ultra, right? Kagurabachi, your Chihiro, you get your resolve again, right? Like Sakamoto days, Sakamoto, you'll have your family. It's Batman. Family's dead. Becomes the Dark Knight. Superman protecting his people, came from a planet that blew up. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. If you are, just share it with your friends, especially if you're dudes out there. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to express emotion. That's not what being weak or masculine is, or weak or feminine is, but being able to surmount any type of adversity. Now I'm just going on a tangent. What's up, Bristola? Hello? Awkward. I'm not gonna lie, the Discord notification checked me for my little rant. Rizola's going in here like, what the is this guy talking about? But Bristol knows me. He and I met through the gym, so he knows I've been on this bullshit. I've been on this shit. If you don't believe me, here, let's go to x.com. This isn't even, to be honest, like, you guys are gonna see this. I could squat 350, and I probably could squat way more, like, legitimately. I just haven't had the need to in a while, but here we go. Let's go here. One, 2, 3, 45, 10, 5.5. That's 1, 2, 3, 315. With the 10 is 335. With the 5 is 345. The 2.5, 350. Not bad, right? Like, I probably probably could have put on some 25s and hit 365. I probably could have got a 365 squat, an extra 15 pounds. But I'm not trying to blow up my back. I'm not trying to blow up my knees. Like, I'm not a professional athlete anymore. I don't need to push myself like that. I was just trying to make it to the gym the next